What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Fab, Freddie Fox, America's Big Brother, and we back with another episode of the Saturday Night Sit Down. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Fab, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with Sergeant James Lofton. He's a detective with the Stratford Police Department, been on the force now for 27 years. How are you?
Good. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. So for starters, man, thank you so much for taking the time to sit with me and speak with me. Like I said, I was just trying to reach out to a bunch of individuals who I believe have a lot of good insight and a lot of good advice that would help us educate this younger generation, lead them down the right path. I mean, for myself, I've seen just as I've gotten older too, a lot of these younger generations, these kids going down, what I just feel is something that's skewed, getting fed the wrong information, believing what the wrong thing is, the hype, and what are the wrong aspects of what it takes to be a man and how to be a man these days. So speaking with individuals like yourself, I hope that we can kind of educate them and let them know what the real deal is and help them put them on the right path.
I appreciate that. I wanted to first compliment you on what you're doing and say that it is something noble thing and it's something that I look forward to working with you and doing this. This what we're doing because I think there's a lot of value in what you're doing and it's honorable. And I just like to congratulate you on what you're doing and say it's much appreciated.
No, thank you, man. I've like I said for myself, I've struggled so hard to find my place in life. You know what I'm meant to be and stuff. And for me, I've always just had this instinct just to genuinely want to help people. You know, any which way
Mhm.
that I can and help them find their place. And one of the things actually recently, like I said, I've been going through a lot of depression, anxiety, especially since having my kids because I didn't feel like I was prepared, you know, what I mean, to really guide them and teach them certain things. So it kind of put me in a panic and trying to really rush to find what I needed to do. But when I had my son and then just understanding all the struggles that I went through to find myself and learn how to be a man, I figured doing something like this, we can help educate it and reach out to a lot of people because we can't experience, like I said in every episode, we can't experience everything in life, but
Mhm.
there's by having conversations with people and making connections and really helping each other out, we can all help each other guide through this rough thing that we call life.
Absolutely, I agree.
So for starters, like I always start off with these shows, one of my main questions is for you. What do you think are some of the main characteristics or some of the main qualities that it takes to be a good man or a good person?
Okay, let's start with I think understanding that you have a responsibility. Number one. Well, not I ain't gonna say number one. It's not gonna be in any particular order, but I think they all equally important. But let's say understanding what your responsibilities are and acknowledging it, acknowledging that you have things in life that you need to do, things that are not going to get done unless you do it, and understand that. And I think you need to also the characteristics of having high morals and values, and understanding that a good character of a man is doing what you say you're going to do, being where you say you're going to be, being honorable, developing these high morals, especially if you are a father, if you're a dad, because you have someone looking up to you. They're following what you say. They're looking at what you do. Sometimes it's more power in what you do than what you say.
Mhm.
So if you say you're going to do it, do it. If you say you're going to be there, be there. If you're a son or daughter having in a sporting event or something, the power in for them to look over and see you there is words can't put it into to perspective of how that makes them feel. So if you say you're going to be there, you know, honor that and be there, and be a protector. You know, as children, I think they look up to their mother and father as a protector. And you're there to do just that, to protect them, because they don't know what they don't know, and they do better when they know better. So, and you're supposed to be there to show them these things. So to be that protector, you know, and to be a provider. And when you say provider, sometimes people might think that is all financial, but the provider sometimes is emotional. To be that emotional support cast for them, to help them, to guide them, let them know they can do it. Help them get to that next level. Identify what a man is and show them what a man is. You can tell them, you know, being a male, and then there's being a father. You know, not every male could be a father. You know, so you got to show them sometimes. You know, be that nurturing. You know, so a lot of times women is they go to mom for that nurturing, but there's a level of nurturing that a man has to do as well.
Mhm.
You know, he has to be that rock. You know, be that foundation. You know, and you also is like being a promoter. Promote your family. Let them know what they can do. That they can do it. You know, be that positive influence. You know, you know, I do a presentation on implicit bias, and I talk to a lot of the youth, and I tell them, you know, people go through life with their glass either half full or half empty. You know, and going through life with your glass half full, that's powerful, in my opinion. You
Definitely.
know, you're you're shining a light. People are looking up at you. People see you in a positive way. You know, I have a grandmother who's 101 years old. God bless her, and I get a chance to talk to her regularly, and I've never seen her glass half empty. You know, and I think part of that allowing her to get to be 101 years old is because she's always been so positive. You know, she's always looked for the positive in a lot of things. So, and I try to, you know, emulate that in my lifestyle, and I try to tell people that I speak to on a regular basis about having a half full glass, to be positive. You know, speak that and that positivity into existence.
Yeah, no, I think you touched on a lot of key points there. I mean, one of the things that I want to really highlight on that, like you said, is as a father being there is like you said that if you're gonna say you're gonna be there.
Mhm.
Just show up. I know that's for a lot of guys have that pain or go through that hurt when their father doesn't show up to certain things or they don't get that kind of love and stuff. I guess with myself, like my dad, again, like I said on these episodes, he's been in my house, he's been in my home, and he's been there, in the house for my entire life. However, when it came to, like you said, my sporting events or, anytime I did drama at school, graduations or anything like that, he never showed up. He was
Mhm.
never there. Um,
Mhm.
and even like for my high school graduation, I guess, like I said, it happened for so long, for so many years. My high school graduation, around that time, unfortunately, his father passed away. So he
Okay.
Puerto Rico and he couldn't be there, for obvious reasons. However, like I went to his closet and I grabbed one of his shirts, and even though it was like, way too small for me, I just put it on and wore it underneath my cap and gown just so that I could have my dad with me. Um,
Okay.
it was just that kind of that really stuck to me.
Mhm.
And I went to get married. I sat down with my dad and I told him, I said, listen, man, over all the years, I know you never come to all of these things. You never showed up to all these things, and that's okay. That's fine. But I need you at my wedding. You have
Absolutely.
to be there. I don't want whatever happens. Like if you don't show up at my wedding, I can't forgive you for that.
Okay.
And
Okay.
he was there. And my dad
Awesome.
homebody. He doesn't leave the house. But what I took from that, what I've learned from that over the years and watching him is that he doesn't go a lot of places because what I've learned is, like you said, from watching your father, like we didn't have a lot of heart to heart talks, but I just watched him and following his
Mhm.
footsteps, and I understood that he knew that not everybody was worth his time. He was
Mhm.
very careful with who he spent his time with and who he associated himself with. And that's what I so took from that. Like, what I mean, I'm very careful of who I let around me and stuff like that, because you don't want, like, that negative energy or people to bring, bad vibes into your life.
Absolutely.
I want to keep that distance and stuff. So that's the things that I learned from him and keeping from that, as far as, watching him and knowing that, but also knowing that pain too. Like when there's times you just want your dad.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Um,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
and like one time, when I moved out, I moved out of my house. I did it all the wrong way. I told my mom I was moving like the day before I left.
Okay.
And I packed up and left. And I know that she kind of that hit her a certain way, because she never came to visit me in my house when I was
Mhm.
like my aunt lived right up the street, literally like up the street. She would be up
Okay.
every weekend, but never came by my house. And I think it was just because of the way I did it. But I remember one time I told my dad that I wasn't feeling when I was sick. And again, he doesn't know the years, but he showed up at my house, like out of the
Okay.
soup
Mhm.
and whatever I needed to help me feel better. And
Okay.
moments were just like, wow, what I mean? That's kind of one of those things that I started to realize the importance of what it is of having your dad there and having that male role model. And that's
Mhm.
really hit me into finding this path too, when I had my son, knowing that I'm gonna have to do that for him and really have to show him how to come into the light. And
Right.
because I do have a daughter, but it's different. Like my mom was very, and I got that nurturing side from my mom, and I'm very caring and stuff like that. And it's kind of like
Mhm.
a different teaching. Yeah,
Hmm.
when it comes to her, like helping her find out, what a good man should be, versus
Right.
teaching my son how to be a man.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And showing him,
Yeah, yeah.
and showing him because he's definitely watching.
Yeah, no, he is, man. And one thing that, like I said, that for my not being around, like now I tend to like overcompensate. Like I'm a stay-at-home dad. Luckily my wife goes out to work. I'm able to work from home. I take care of the
Hmm.
kids. I'm doing all these other things and these ventures and stuff like that to be able to provide for my family, which is like, and also thing like you said too, for myself, that what really caused me into a lot of depression was these last years when I got laid off of my job from Cable Vision, where I was making crazy money. Uh,
Hmm.
to being now like making maybe half of that. And it really
Hmm.
got at my ego because I only thought like providing with my family was financial, what I mean, paying the
Hmm.
bills, bringing money to the table, buying and things. And now that I wasn't
Hmm.
doing that, I was feeling like half a man,
Right.
and
Right. Right.
my wife is explaining to me, like, what, you're doing so much more. You're teaching them, what I mean? Like I'm
Hmm.
teaching my daughter how to be a good person, how to,
Right.
interact with.
And that's priceless. That is priceless.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
I take so much of that because my daughter is such a people person and how much she
Hmm.
loves people. And I'm so proud of that because, and again, not to my own horn, but I know I had a lot to deal with that, what I mean? And
Hmm. Absolutely.
know how to deal with people. And, she'll say hi to anybody and have a conversation with anyone and at any time, any point. And I love that because I
Hmm.
think, like, teaching her how to love everybody is what's going to help leave a better place in this world for the next generation.
Absolutely. 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 And that's what I speak of when we're referring to when I said being a provider. It's not just financial. So what you're describing right now is being that provider for your daughter and your son that is priceless.
Yeah, and it took me a while to learn that, man. But now that
Hmm.
that shifted that gear has made things a lot easier. And knowing that, what, there's like you said, so many different ways to provide for your family. It's not just
Absolutely.
and
Hmm.
really holding them down and protecting them like that. What I mean, like, making
Hmm.
sure that I'm there for them. And I think that's like you said, as a man, when like it was funny, a couple weeks ago, I went down to the beach, to Mystic with my family and stuff, and we're there. And my daughter again, like, loves playing. She'll go up to any little kid and starts playing with them and stuff. And they're playing in the water. And I don't know, it just hit me. I was like, I gotta look out for this kid because they're splashing,
Hmm.
falling in, and I'm, grabbing them out the tides, the waves
Hmm.
like that. Because like I
Hmm.
said to myself, hey, the moment that any child enters my vicinity, they're
Hmm.
automatically my responsibility. I'm gonna
Hmm.
make sure nothing
Right.
happens to them. I'm, what I mean, if I got
Right.
to dive or whatever I gotta do to protect that person, I'm gonna do
Right.
that. What I mean?
Right. Absolutely.
See that too and help that, and hopefully that carries on in them as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I understand that.
Now, not only was it like before, like you said, you have a son too, who's
Yes.
um,
Hmm.
now for you, like what are some of the things that you're trying to instill in him that you're making a conscious effort to make sure that that's what you want them to learn, want him to learn.
Yeah. I have to I try to live my life to the point where he can look at me in a positive light and always know that he can always depend on me. And part of being a provider, I think, is what I try to do is what my father did with me is have open lines of communication. So I try to talk to him on a regular basis. We spend a lot of time together and we just have real talks. He's 12, but I talk to him about life stuff, things what's going on. I don't hide things about what's going on in society from him
Mhm.
because I'd rather for him to hear it from my perspective. I can explain it to him and tell him what's really what in society. So we have these talks, and he has because when he goes to school, he might hear a different version or something. He'll come home and say, I heard this in school. What does this mean? So we'll talk about it, and I like to explain it to him. And I like to have that open line of communication because I think that's important. And I think it's important to develop it at a young age so when he gets older,
Mhm.
as things come on, he will still feel comfortable coming and talking to me, and like that he's my only son, but doing with my police activities league, I have a lot of kids that I'm in touch with, and those kids, I consider them all like my kids, and I have conversations with them. We developed a concept we call the casual conversation with the cop, and that's just a matter of us just getting to know the kids on a personal basis, them just coming and talking, seeing us on a personal level, so they don't necessarily refer to us as officer.
Right.
I coach a lot of different sports, so they call me coach more than they call me officer. They forget that I'm a law enforcement officer, which is I take that as an honor. Like I really enjoy that. I coach a lot of my son's teams, but his team, his friends that are on the team as well. I have them at the house and stuff, and we just talk. And they get to know me, I get to know them, and I let them know that we can talk about anything. And I get to know their family, and it just becomes a big family. And I think that's what a lot of times with law enforcement as a whole has gotten away from, is that community involvement with law enforcement. And that's what I try to do with the Police Activities League, is bring that community feel back. Get to know the community get to know the officers as not just officers. Because like I tell the officers, if you only meet in the community when we're being called there, then you're only meeting them on the stressful situations.
Right.
I try to tell them, to become a stakeholder in your community, learn your community when things are calm, when there is no issue. That way, when things do happen, it doesn't make it that hard for the community to trust you, to come to you when there's an issue. So, and real topics, real things, I talk to my son about, because I think the world will show him if I don't. So I'd rather for him to learn from me, and I can, try to tell him what's what, because like I said, the world will show him, but it will show him their version. So I try to have that open lines of communication with him.
Yeah, no, I think that's very, very important. I have a great with my mom. I could talk to my mom about anything and everything. What I mean? I think that's very, very special. The same thing I'm trying to do with my daughter and my son, is just create that thing. I want them to talk to me and openly and have discussions, and I understand that they can trust me, and that I'm there for them. Because like you said too, it's just so dangerous that when they, if you don't have those communications with your children, if you don't have that constant contact, like you said, you'll learn from the street, and they'll learn the wrong thing from the wrong people, and then believe that versus their parents, or
Exactly.
where people are afraid to have certain conversations with their kids, then it
Mhm.
leads to that too. They don't that level of trust, I feel, kind of gets a little tainted, and they just don't
Absolutely.
know if they can come to you or really believe in what you're saying, because you don't have that constant communication, which is very, very important.
Mhm.
And also, like you said, I think it's also wonderful, like you said, with the Police Activities League and doing that and having them forget that you're an officer, because with everything that happened this past year and everything that's going on with law enforcement, I got a lot of friends who are cops, and it
Mhm.
pains me to see people so blinded with anger for the wrong
Mhm.
reason. Because yeah, there
Mhm.
is a few, anywhere you go, man, there's a few bad seeds. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Any
Absolutely.
Anything that you look at, but that doesn't, you can't paint them all with the same brush.
Right.
And I think that's, like you said too, it's very important to be able to have that communication, and what I mean, feel comfortable, especially with law enforcement, stuff like that, and going out there and speaking with the community and really being there involved, because people will get comfortable. They know to trust you. They know that, what I mean, like you're there to protect them and serve, like what, like many of you are, what I mean, like many
Absolutely.
force for that
Mhm.
same purpose. Um,
Mhm.
Now, like you said too, like what you had that communication with your dad and stuff like that.
Mhm.
What was your relationship with your dad like overall?
Well, I feel I'm very fortunate, and I'm blessed that I got a chance to see what it takes to be a man from my dad, and I got a chance to see it firsthand, day to day. I have a very good relationship with my dad, and like I said, you don't know what you don't know. So
Mhm.
growing up, I didn't know at early on how fortunate I was, because I just felt like that was just what everybody's story was. Wasn't until I got older, you started paying attention that everybody wasn't as blessed or as fortunate as I was to have my dad that around me as much as I had him around me. So then I started to value his relationship with me even more so, because I seen that it wasn't, you know, in my neighborhood, it wasn't that common. My friends that I got a core group of kids, guys that I grew up with, just like you. You said, you're really particular about who you let around you. So I had a core group that I grew up with from my son's age now, since 8, 9, 10 years old, and we're still a core group. So I look at my core group of friends. We all of our dads were in our life heavy. So I didn't have anything other than that initially to compare it to, until I started getting a little older, when I started seeing that that wasn't everybody's story. So, but my relationship with my dad was very positive. He taught me about the responsibility, having being responsible, being a man of your word, being where you say you're going to be, all the things that I described in the beginning. That was something that I was able to witness firsthand with my dad. And doing my program with the Police Activities League, it gives me an opportunity to be a father figure, a male mentor to a lot of the kids that I'm around, because I was taught that from an early age from my dad and my friends' dads that was in my life, and very close knit with my uncles that are close to me. So I had a lot of positive male role models in my life that I'm very fortunate for.
No, that's awesome, and I feel that's one of the reasons, like I said, like going through this, because I know myself, like I said, my dad was home, but my core
Mhm.
group of friends, every last one of them, their dad wasn't in the picture for one reason or the other. You know, one of my friends'
Yeah.
father passed away when he was really young. Another one was just in and out of jail constantly, so he was never there. Or another one just kind of just bounced and was never in the picture.
Mhm.
Another friend too, whose dad was there, but he wasn't living at home. You know what I mean? They had that shared custodialship
Okay.
stuff. So my dad
Mhm.
really kind of took them all in as their own kids, but I got to see that other side of what it's like not to have her dad around. And that was kind of in things that are different always intrigue me because I want to know more,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
what's different, what's strange and stuff like that. And I started to realize that like one of my 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 little brother, man, JR, I met him you know, maybe when he was like 10 years old, 11 years old and stuff like that. He came to the block. And he's the one whose dad was just not around at all, you know, in and out of jail and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
I remember, you know, me with him, I brought him into my house and I'm showing him around my room and all these stuff. And you know, I showed him like I had like these golden dollars in my drawer and just you
Okay.
know, right. And then
Mhm.
the ice cream truck came.
Mhm.
Yo, let's go get some ice cream. So we run outside to go get some ice cream and stuff. And I'm at the truck and I'm like, hey, do you want something or anything like that? And he was like, hesitant at first. He's like, no, no, I'm good. So I was like, all right,
Mhm.
whatever. So we get back to the house and I go back into my room and he was like, he looked at me in the face. He said, yo, Fred, I'm so sorry, man. I can't do this to you, man. I took one of your dollars out of your desk to get something from the ice cream truck, but I couldn't even go through with it. And that
Mhm.
point, that I think that moment created a bond between us
Mhm.
I can't describe. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
I think
Mhm.
that's where I really seen and I kind of understood that, you know, that type of role model that I was for him, you know what I mean? And really
Mhm.
having to step up as an example for him.
Mhm.
I know his dad wasn't around and I'm telling him we were inseparable growing up. I mean, he'd be at my house before even brushing his teeth, like brush teeth, like we were just,
Okay.
you know, and as we go to the
Mhm.
barber shop, if he needed to shape up, you know, I'll buy him a shape,
Mhm.
whatever, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Whatever I needed to
Mhm.
do to look after him. And I think that's kind of like taking the role of like being I guess that father figure or that big brother to him. Um,
Mhm.
and one time, and I remember we were going to the store, and I got into like this argument with some kid outside the store who turned out to be his half brother.
Mhm. Oh wow.
And we're going at and stuff, and he stepped in between us, and he started cursing him out. And he looked at him, he's like, "Yo," like his brother looked at him like, "Are you gonna talk to him like that? I'm your brother, Jay." And he's like, "Yo, Fred,
Mhm.
you're more of a brother to me than you'll ever be."
Wow.
And
Mhm.
I was just like, wow, you know, and I just
Wow.
more like to understand like why I needed to do these things or really look after him and try to be there for him. So
Mhm.
I think it's just like you said, it's very important, and that's one of the reasons why I do this because people who are fathers or you know what I mean, like or dads, I should say, who get people pregnant, walk out. You don't understand the importance you are to your child.
Absolutely.
You're in the picture, not the picture. I mean, it's gonna affect them tremendously
Absolutely.
ways, and it's you need to be there. To
Right.
help guide them. I remember one of my other friends. I'm not even that cool like that anymore because of what happened. I mean, he got this girl pregnant. And you know, and all of us, we all understand the importance of being a dad. When she was going into labor, you know, we all went to the hospital, and he wasn't there.
Mhm.
And we're like, dude, like, and this is what I mean, like, be careful who you associate with, because we're like, yo, like,
Mhm.
how are you not here? So we looking around and we found him. He was at the YMCA playing basketball.
Wow.
So we all went over there, but like, yo, your kid's being born right now. Like, what are you doing
Right.
here? Like, you know,
Right.
well, I'm gonna be there. So we left,
Mhm.
and he still didn't show up. He actually ran off with some other chick that he was with,
Mhm.
and just disappeared. He
Wow.
wasn't even there. And after
Mhm.
that point, yeah, like we went to his house again, cursed him out, and we was like, you know what, we kind of just cut ties. Like you
Mhm.
me and me, and like I know you
Right.
were young, you were like 16, we were 17 years old or whatever. But still,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Like we all understood
Right.
we gotta be there. And JR, he had his first kid when he was 15.
Wow.
So and he was there being there, and he, you know what I mean? Like he got into trouble
Mhm.
with the law and here and there,
Mhm.
stuff like that. But
Mhm. Yeah.
When he went into jail, I'd call up his girl like, hey, do the kids need diapers? Do they need this?
Right.
Like what
Wow.
to help him out. And now
Hmm.
he's out and he's doing his thing. And we don't hang out often as much, but I
Hmm.
understand like I said, he's missed so much time with his kids.
Hmm.
I don't want to be a part of like if he wants to hang out with me, like he can call me up. Like I'm always gonna be here for him. But I need
Hmm.
to be there for his wife and his kids.
Right. Right.
I need you to be
Right.
for them.
Right.
Your son's going through some things and you need to be present because you know what it's like not to be there. So
Absolutely.
it's so important.
Yeah, what found powerful is that I meet a lot of people and talking to those that male whose father wasn't around, and that was motivation for them to be around, to be that much more around for their kids because they know what it felt like not to have them around. So it was like they learned from it, and it made them be a stronger person and be a phenomenal dad themselves. So it was a tough lesson for them to learn, but it made them stronger. And the people that like a lot of people that I come in contact with, I see the power in it. And their kids are fortunate because of some of the pain that they went through, and they love their kids so much they don't want to see that pain transport into them. So they really go over and make it up for it, and then they live through the power that the effect they have in their child's life. So that's a powerful thing I'm able to witness from different perspectives and different people that I come in contact with.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. I think it's a beautiful way that they go ahead and break that cycle, and really
Yes.
go there, and then that creates their kids that they don't know what it's like not to be without a dad, so they're gonna feel
Right.
I got to be here for my kids, you know what I mean, like and
Hmm.
be there. So it is so important. Like we were talking about the police force and stuff like that, and for yourself, like, and I
Hmm.
for 27 years, so congratulations on that, man. I mean, that's
Appreciate it. Thank you.
crazy.
I appreciate that.
And thank you for all you do because again, I know it's not easy. It's very, very dangerous every single day going
Hmm.
out there, risking your life. What was it for you? Like, what made you make that decision to go into law enforcement?
Well, to be honest with you, I've always enjoyed helping people. I've always enjoyed trying to make a difference. And where I grew up in Stratford, I didn't see a lot of growing up. I didn't see a lot of police officers that looked like me.
Mm,
It was growing up there. It was actually I never seen any people of color. So when I was thinking about it, um, I just knew that was something that I was interested in until one of my family members became a police officer in the city of New Haven. So that's where I started my career. I became a New Haven police officer. I was there for 2 years, but Stratford is where I grew up, and I always wanted to work in my town. So I ended up transferring to Stratford. I've been in Stratford going for the remainder of that. I've been in Stratford, but I always felt like Stratford had there were things I would always wanted to do differently because that community aspect. Like I didn't know any of the police officers, and I didn't see any of the police officers be friendly enough to stop and hold a conversation. And that was something that I always said if I had an opportunity to do, I would bring that to Stratford if I was given an opportunity. So initially, I just wanted to make a difference. I just wanted to be a part of something and help people and give back. And I'm very fortunate when I came to Stratford. I was introduced to a veteran police officer. His name is Officer Bobby Ramos, and he was a veteran officer. He's an officer of color, so he sort of played big brother and took me under his wings and explained a lot of the history about what happened, things that happened to him in the police department, and just showed me what having a positive connection with the community. He was one of the officers who did a lot for the community. He did like Thanksgiving time, he would get turkeys, hand out to different families. Halloween, do Halloween parties. Christmas time, he would raise money to give unfortunate kids gifts. So I was introduced to how a police officer can communicate and have an effective relationship with the community early on in my career. So, and since he retired, we just continued on. We just so this community involvement is nothing like we're doing a little different things, but the concept
right.
was something that I was introduced from a veteran officer. So we just try to carry it on, just keep it going because we understand, things happen, and this the way society is right now. It's at an all-time low with community and law enforcement, and I feel like everybody has to do their part to try to, to make it a better place. And the program that we have is trying to develop mutual empathy between the community and the law enforcement, and putting the community members and law enforcement in a room together, and let's have an open and honest, in-depth conversation. Because sometimes I feel like it's just a matter of just talking to someone, and getting that open lines of communication open. So the program that we do through this Police Activities League is called our PEP program. We call it the Police Engagement Program. So it's just about getting people in the room, getting community members and law enforcement, and let's have an in-depth conversation. And part of that is, from my perspective, being transparent. And if we get into some of these high-profile cases, if a police officer is wrong, I'll say they're wrong, and we'll have an in-depth conversation about it. Because what's wrong is wrong, and we're not going to get to where we need to get to trying to sugarcoat it or trying to pretend things didn't happen. So this program that we do, we talk about it, and we keep it, we keep it 100.
And how often do you guys do that? Like, you guys get together? Is that like a once a month thing? You guys do that, or?
No, we try to do it. COVID slowed us up a little bit, but we started this program 6 years ago when we started it in our schools, and then we started going to our local churches. And to be honest with you, when I started going to the local churches, that was when I got a dose of reality that showed me that we have a lot of work to do, because I didn't realize that the churches would be so hesitant to have police officers come and talk to their congregation.
Oh, wow.
So, but it was eye-opening, but it was understanding. It was just a matter of it just was surprising to me. But I understand there's a history of hurt with law enforcement and people of color. It is. It's just a history of hurt. So a lot of times people are a little hesitant, but so we do it quite a bit. Now we're starting to get going again. We've developed this program, and we're going to different communities, and having these conversations. And different police departments are calling us now to invite us to come have these conversations, because it's a needed conversation. And that myself and my two partners, my main two partners, Lieutenant Curtis Eller and Miss Erin McLaughlin, that do the presentation with me, along with K9 Officer Diaz and Officer Machette. We do this, and we become certified to teach implicit bias. And now that this new police accountability law, a lot of police departments are required to have this implicit bias training. So we're starting to go to different police departments and talk about implicit bias, because what I come to realize that sometimes people, when you hear implicit bias, they're like, oh, that's nonsense. I don't have implicit bias. And you start talking, I think sometimes people got to realize that yes, you do. People have implicit bias. People have biases that we're just born with, and not acknowledging it is not the answer. It's just acknowledging it, identifying it, and then we can work with it. But you have to acknowledge it. So that's part of the program. It gives us an opportunity to have these in-depth conversations and talk about implicit bias and biases, and then people talk about defunding the police, and I always get asked, how do you feel about defunding the police? And I said, listen, there's a history of hurt why people come up with that term, but the way I look at it is I'm all about reallocating the funds into getting different types of funding. I'm all for things being changed and doing things a little different. I'm all for that, but I just think we just need to work together with the community and the police. We need to work together to mend this broken bridge. And it's like George Floyd. That was such a traumatic thing that happened. It was and it changed the dynamic of the world. But there was a lot of stuff that was going on prior to that. There was a lot of stuff going on that was just caught on camera. Which was just, and because it was caught on camera, and watch this officer's face as he was kneeling down, just made it that much horrible. And just sitting there watching, like, how could one person take somebody's life with no regard and just look like he was enjoying it? And to have that person wear a police badge is a slap in the face to every police officer out here that is trying to do the right thing. What I try to tell people is nobody hates a bad officer more than an officer that is trying to do the right thing. Watching that video, it was almost like you just wanted to just reach through the TV screen and push them off of them. It's just a horrible feeling. It's just terrible.
Yeah, no, and I agree. Like, I mean, I've seen everybody going on and defunding the police and stuff like that, and it's the wrong way to go about it. Like, it's right, like
Mm-hmm.
reallocating, maybe finding better training, better education, and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
programs to help them understand, or even exactly what you're doing with the PEP program, which I think is huge
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of people, again, it's we live in a community and we it's like two different worlds. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
everybody sees the cops
Yes.
and they kind of like scooch the ass out of the street, and already like you said, maybe have that implicit bias, like this dude is gonna do X, Y, and Z to me because it's all
Mm-hmm.
because I'm a person of color, because of this, because of that, without
Mm-hmm.
really giving a chance to have that conversation. I think it's huge you guys doing this. And I would definitely
Mm-hmm.
love to show up to one of these meetings and sit down and see these things in person because it's so
Okay.
like you said, to have open dialogue, to have communication.
Absolutely.
Communication is key. People
Mm-hmm.
can wonder and go on at their minds. Our minds are so dangerous when they're left to wonder in the unknown or like kind of guess and make up our own theories about things
Absolutely.
without
Absolutely.
a really good conversation about stuff.
Absolutely. Well, I have your contact information now, so I'll keep you in the loop when we're doing it.
No, definitely, definitely. I like to show up to one of
Mm-hmm.
those and then just get people more involved and maybe get more people to go in and have these conversations and go. Like I know, like like I said, my brother Jay, I love him. And
Mm-hmm.
I know he has a really biased feeling when it comes to the cops, and he's very, very
Mm-hmm.
intimidated because I know that he's not to put his business out there, but he's had a share luck and things that weren't his fault. It was just one of those things
Mm-hmm.
that really needed
Mm-hmm.
addressing that left him scarred. And I want him to,
Mm-hmm.
kind of
Mm-hmm.
not live with that kind of pressure on his chest. Nobody wants to
Mm-hmm.
look like that looking over their shoulder. You know.
Okay. Yeah.
Now,
Now I tell you, a person like that is a person that I enjoy having conversations with because I learn from them, they learn from me. A person like you describing like your brother, that stuff like people like that. Um, I just think that those are necessary conversations. For to get his perspective. And be able to talk, have an in-depth conversation. So, you know, that's somebody I would definitely love to reach out to.
you know what? I see. I'll get a hold of him and get you guys in contact and stuff like that.
Okay.
Because I know it's a lot to live on. Well, it's a lot to live with, and I don't want
Hmm.
to like that.
Yep, I understand.
And now you saying like that too when you come into people and you learn things about like you said, you learn a lot of things from your dad, about as far as
Hmm.
and their commitment and stuff like that to help you become a better person, help you become the man
Hmm.
that you are today. When it came
Hmm.
to the police force and joining there, what are some things that you took away, you learned from there to help you become a better person, become a better man as well?
One of the things that I learned, one of the most powerful things I learned is that I think the best weapon I have as a police officer is my mouth, and that's my way to communicate with people. I think as police officers, we are taught this warrior mentality from the academy, and that we have to win, we have to dominate. And I think it's got to be a mindset shift with law enforcement. Is um, instead of that warrior mentality, sometimes you just got to be able to communicate with people. You got to be able to talk to people. Every situation is not a situation that we have to win. Sometimes it's just a matter of just having a conversation. Let's just talk about it. And sometimes that right there can de-escalate situations. And I think what we do, one of the things we do with our program is we have over 40 programs where we try to reach different kids because, it used to be called the Police Athletic League, which was geared basically mainly around basketball. But we were limiting ourselves to only athletic kids, So that's when we ended up changing it to Police Activities League because we went from 3 programs, now we have 40 programs, and it's just a matter of getting us the opportunity to reach so many more kids. And now we're reaching their parents. So I think de-escalation starts from a police standpoint on contact if you know that person. So now our officers and I get more officers involved. So now these officers they go to a domestic violence, and if they walk in the house and that mother and father is a parent to a kid that's been in one of our programs, I think sometimes the de-escalation starts when they walk up and they look in that door and they see that police officer. Oh, that's the officer that I seen from whatever program. So the de-escalation starts. So right on contact, and it gives you an opportunity for it to de-escalate rather than escalate. It gives another chance. It's not 100% all the time, but it does help out, you know. And I look at the the shooting that happened in Atlanta and the fast food in the parking lot when that gentleman was running away. Now, I asked myself, if that's one of my parents to one of the kids that I'm that I'm having a program with, his father is running away from me. Am I taking that shot?
Right.
No. And I know, depends on who you ask. You ask another officer, they might say, yeah. I just speak from my own perspective. I'm not taking that shot. He's running away from me. I know him. I know where he's going. It's tomorrow, you know? So I just think it increases the opportunity to not take the shot if we got more programs and you start to learn the people and the people start to learn you. I just think the de-escalation chances are increased if everybody starts to learn each other. So one of the most important things I've learned over the course of my career is not having that warrior mentality all the time and being able to communicate, using the power of communication, you know, being able to talk to people, and just not walking into a situation like you're going to do what I say because I'm the cop. No, that mindset needs to change. And I think that's where we are with it today. It's about communication and building that bridge and just talking.
Yeah, no, I think like that brings up a good point. He said the more we do those activities or get involved with the police and stuff like that, outside of like you said, those high tension scenarios, makes it a
Mm-hmm.
lot easier because again, like you said, what if that person in Atlanta he's seen that he's like, oh, that's dude that coaches my son, you know what I mean? Like we can have
Mm-hmm.
a conversation and not want to turn and run or be so fearful of his life thing that's gonna happen to him,
Right.
and then also too for officers as well, knowing people and knowing, like you said, hey, I know that person, I know what he's about, we can have a conversation and really not have to react in such I guess I don't want to say violent or like a negative way. Just
Mm-hmm.
because that I remember years ago when in Stanford, I was with a bunch of my friends and stuff, and it was a lot of shootings going around in the neighborhood. And I remember I went to go pick up one of my boys, and we were gonna go to a club in New Haven. And I was driving my homegirl's Jeep. She had a black Jeep, which I absolutely loved. And so I was driving, and then as we're leaving, I remember she was like, got to be careful because I don't have the registration in the car. And I'm like, so if we get
Mm-hmm.
pulled in trouble, huh? She was like, yeah, as
Right.
soon as I said that, I seen the sirens go off. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, oh crap. So I pulled
Uh-huh.
over, and I mean, these cops came swarming out of nowhere, man. I mean, they
Mm-hmm.
blocked up the street, completely surrounded the car. And I guess that we fit the description of like one of the vehicles that was just had a recent shooting. And that's
Okay.
we were leaving a pretty rough neighborhood at the time.
Okay.
I could understand that as well. And I remember sitting there, I
Mm-hmm.
was so nervous, had my hands on the thing, and I felt like these eyes burning. And I looked over to the left and I see a cop behind a tree post with cocked his shotgun. And I'm just like, oh man. And my homegirl was in
Wow.
the seat next to me.
Mm-hmm.
This officer rolled up to her window with his gun drawn. And she went to send off a text message, and he screamed at her. He said, "Put your hands on the dash. The last thing you want to do is make a cop with a gun nervous." And I
Wow.
just that just started me. So just because you're nervous, you're just gonna react.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Here and after everything calmed down, stuff like that. It was like, oh, all right, well, we're sorry about that. Just be careful, And he said,
Mm-hmm.
be careful up in New Haven. Those cops out there are rough. And I'm like, so it's just all this, I mean, it
Yeah.
kind of building on that negative aspect of the whole
Mm-hmm.
thing. You know what I mean? Like, and
Right. Right.
I know that's not the case because when I was younger, I was 17. I did uh I was with this program where I worked with fire, EMT, and police. I did training with
Okay.
all those areas. And
Mm-hmm.
knowing how to, and that's too, like learning how to speak with an officer. You know what I mean? Like I know the routine. If I get pulled over, I immediately just go get my license registration. You know what I mean? Turn off the car, put
Mm-hmm.
everything out ready and stuff like that because I don't want to give them any things they issue.
Right.
And I'm already cooperating. You know what I mean? Kind of just
Mm-hmm.
make it a smooth and easy transition so that
Mm-hmm.
things again that I don't make a cop with a gun nervous. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right. Right. Right.
But I think like it's so important, like you said, just really people coming together with police and law enforcement and having these conversations and really getting to know each other so that we can help regain that level of trust that needs to be there.
Right.
Because again, we rely on you guys to protect us in our time of need. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
we need to
Mm-hmm.
and be able to trust you guys, and you guys need to trust the public as well, so that we all get to know.
Right. 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 Right.
So
One of the things with my program we talk about is we talk about the 3 C's, and we use the 3 C's as the calm, cool, and compliance. When I'm dealing with the community, a lot of times that word compliance is that draws a lot of attention to people. People in the community say, the compliance. We're tired of complying. We've been complying for years, and we're still getting killed. So, and I try to explain that compliance goes when I'm teaching the classes to the law enforcement officers with the implicit bias. I go through the same 3 C's, but the compliance for the police officers is I'm telling the police officers we got to comply to the oath that we've taken. we want our community members to remain calm, cool, and comply to what we're telling them. But on the same time, we have to remain calm, cool, and comply to our oath. You know, so I speak to that when you say he said the last thing you want to do is make a cop nervous. Yeah, okay, but your life shouldn't end because an officer is nervous.
Right.
You know, so and I'm trying to. That's one of the things with the compliance aspect. I'm like, remain calm. I want the officers remain calm. Tactful, but remain calm. Remain cool. Don't forget all the tactics that we learned in the academy, but still remain calm during those circumstances. And the the life saving out of the three C's is the compliance aspect. Comply to the oath that we've taken. George Floyd, that officer violated his oath. He violated George Floyd's rights. So that lack of compliance for law enforcement becomes fatal. So the compliance aspect, we speak on it from both perspectives, from the community and from law enforcement. So just made me think of that when you said last thing you want to do is make a cop nervous. No, you don't want to make them nervous, but you don't want to lose your life either.
Right. No, definitely,
Mm,
definitely. And
mm.
now as part of the, you said, well, now with the police activities league, and meeting with all these young individuals and stuff like that, what are some of the things that you guys are trying to teach them or instilling them when it comes to these programs?
So what we try to do is we initiate the three C's, what we call it, the calm, cool, and compliance. We try to say, as young kids, the fire department came into our schools and taught us to stop, drop, and roll.
Mhm.
So we learned that at an early age. So we're trying to institute the three C's at our kids and our youth as early as possible to eliminate the things from escalating. Try to de-escalate things from an early age, and just trying to develop as many programs as we can. So we like to call it one of the programs, every cop in front of every kid. When we try to send our cops through the school so they can get to learn the kids get to learn our officers. Like when things are calm, when things haven't escalated, there's nothing going on. Because we feel like if you are building these relationships when things are calm and cool, you know, that's going to help you get compliance when things happen because they're going to trust you. They're not going to feel that having to remain calm and cool is going to end up with them getting hurt or anything. So that's all about building those relationships. Though we just feel like it's an ongoing thing. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. We didn't get here from where we are. This is a history of hurt with law enforcement. It didn't happen overnight, so it's going to take a little bit of time for us to build this trust back. So we just feel like we're just trying to start building this trust back with one kid at a time and one household at a time by trying to have as many programs, as many kids that try to learn us and meet their parents and their parents learn us and just develop this interaction with each other.
Okay, that's good. That's good, man. So as we winding down here, because see, it's kind of my time. I got two last questions.
Sure.
So for yourself, what would you say is some of the best advice that you have ever received?
From law enforcement, I'll give you both. From law enforcement's perspective, is treating a person the way you would want to be treated. Treat them as if they were your family member. And when it's over, it's over. If somebody's giving you a hard time, once you put cuffs on them, it's over. It's done. There's no need to go any extra. Just treat people as a human. Part of the presentation we use this quote from Maya Angelou. It says it's hard to hate someone if you're looking at them in the eye and you realize that and you identify them as a human being. So treat them the way that you want them to be treated. And I mean, treat them the way that you would want to be treated. Excuse me. So, and as a man, best advice I have been given and shown is to just faith, family, and always just be honorable and your morals and your values. I grew up. I'm a man of faith, so I grew up with that mentality from at a young age. So and I just instilled that in my household. I know everybody's different. Some people have different faith values, which is fine. I just feel like we're all here on this earth. We can all get along. But I just think you just honor your family, take care of your family, and whatever your faith is, honor that, and I think we can all coexist in this world.
Oh, definitely. That's some really great advice. I think it's just cool to have faith and believing in family. It's something that everybody should abide by. And also, you said that too. I mean, when just not just in law enforcement in general, I think it's one of those things is I've learned, I guess it was like the golden rule like that, treat people how you want to be treated. Um, and also, like I think I take a step further when I've learned, like somebody said that like the platinum rule is treat people how they want to be treated. Like understand people and how they are. Man, if you feel that nervous, you want to calm down. Like kind of really read the person so that try to take steps to make them at ease or be as peaceful as calm as possible, so that you kind of get the reaction that you want out of them. That way, you can kind of control
Absolutely.
that situation and handle things a lot better than you normally will. And then just
Absolutely.
lastly, for yourself, what would be some advice that you would provide this younger generation, or that you want these people coming up to know or to have that you probably didn't have yourself?
Okay. Some of the what I end up telling the kids that I come in contact with is I try to tell them to remember it as the F's, and I start with faith, and I say, whatever your faith is, try to learn more about it, and if you don't have any faith that you believe in, be open to it. If there is a level of faith that is introduced to you, be open to it, look into it. Don't just turn it away from or shy from it, but look into it. And then I speak about the family values, about valuing your family, and having that utmost respect for your family, and then another F that I like to speak about to our young generation is educating them about financial literacy. I just think I try to teach them young. So if they grow up with some important financial habits, I think it would help them when they get older. And when they're young, they don't understand a lot how hard it is to get out of bad debt, how to get out of bad credit, how hard it is. So try to teach them from a young age. Like one of the programs that we have is just that financial literacy, and we start that in these young ages about trying to learn about the value of the dollar. So I try to spend time with that. That's one of the most important pieces of advice is that I try to tell these kids, and we try to get that going early. And then lastly, I try to tell them, friends, choose your friends wisely, and pay attention. Try to tell them, pay attention to your friends. If look at the big picture, say, what has this person brought to my life? Has it been good or has it been bad? Since I've been in contact with this person, what has the outcome of our relationship as my world having this person in my world? Is it in a positive way or is it in a negative way? And I also tell them, look at who brings you bad news. If the same person is the same person bringing you bad news all the time, and you can look at them in their face and say, are they getting pleasure out of bringing you this bad news?
Right.
You know, you got to really evaluate your friendship with this person. A true friend, that shouldn't be that same person all the time. So just saying, take a real good overview of who you have surrounding yourself with, and select your friends very, very wisely. Those are the advices that I normally like to when we have presentations end it with for our kids. Just so I call it the F's, family, faith, using your financial literacy and friends, choosing your right friends.
Yeah, no, I think it's very, very key. I think, like you said, that the financial aspect is huge because like I remember listening to music growing up, like everybody, all these rappers and all these things that you kind of have role models of talking about popping bottles and buying expensive cars and buying this and buying all these things, and not really going into as when I started getting older, what I started understanding, the value of buying assets, you know what I mean,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
properties and all these things and investing in companies, like, like don't buy the product, buy the brand, you know what I mean?
Exactly. Right.
People have to
Exactly.
understand so that they can continue, because all that stuff is going to fade and lose value, and then you're going to be
Hmm.
back, scrounging to get that money back or trying to suffer. And I think that's what leads to a lot of these bad choices when it comes to either selling drugs or doing criminal
Right.
crimes, because they don't know how to manage that money, and because they don't know
Right. Absolutely.
that's what they have to resort to. So I think it's very, very
Absolutely.
important, like you said, that. And also too with the friends, I mean, I was telling one of my younger friends too, and again, like I like consider him like a little brother when it comes to that. He was going out for his birthday, and he's like, I'm going to go down to Stanford and start partying and stuff like that. And part of myself, I thought at first, I was like, I want to be there because he came to my birthday and I want to support him, but also like that's not my scene either. You know what I mean? I'm married, I got kids, I need to be home with my family, and I'm not about popping bottles. But I told him at the same time, I said, when you go out and you do these things, be wary of the friends who are always there when you're at your highs and you party and pop bottles there. Because those are the ones you got to be worried from. The ones who are there when you're at your lows and going through some tough times to come find you when you're struggling, those are the people who really care about you and who really want to be
Absolutely.
for you. So that's what you got to understand and know how to differentiate when it comes to your friends in those
Absolutely.
scenarios as well. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sir.
well, that being said, man, you know what? I really, really appreciate you taking the time to speak to me with all these things. You know, I definitely want to go ahead and, like I said, get that information, go to some of these pep meetings and stuff and seeing because
Absolutely.
communication is key. So thank
Mhm.
you again so much for sitting with me. And as always,
Absolutely.
everybody, man, no matter who you are, no matter what you've done, your big brother loves you. Stay blessed.
Take care, brother.